Greetings and welcome to TheAdipose's BF3 Shooting and Accuracy Tutorial Part 2. This is the second in a 4-part series. Part 1 contained the 5 most useful beginners tips for shooting in Battlefield. This is Part 2 and we'll give you 5 more tips following on from them. Part 3 will give you 5 advanced tips. Part 4 will give you some exercises to improve your technique further, and I may even put up a Part 5 where I put some of these techniques into practice on a real map and let you see how it goes. Now, the purpose of this series of videos is for people like myself that have come into Battlefield maybe a little bit late and find shooting people on these games actually quite hard. It isn't as simple as pointing the gun at the opponent and pressing the trigger. People don't seem to die, and this is what I'm sharing with you in these videos are all the things that I've learned over the last few months that have turned me from being quite a poor player into actually quite a good player who often finishes in first and second place on the scores in Battlefield 3. Part 1 I discussed kind of the controlling the gun and different techniques to make sure the bullets are going where you think they're going, and how to really kind of hone in on the head of your opponent. So please do watch that video first if you haven't yet, because that does give you kind of like the foundation for what I'm going to be discussing here. But assuming that you have, in this video we're going to move on a little bit and we'll look at some extra tips and tricks to help you with your gun firing. So let's get started with part 2. Tip 6 for shooting and accuracy in Battlefield: choose appropriate gun sights. Now, when you're playing with your guns, you will unlock lots of sights, ×4 sights, ×6 sights, ×12 sights, and some close ones as well. And it's very tempting to grab the more distant sights, or go for the ones in the middle, like the ×4, because you kind of think, oh, well, then I can do the close stuff and I can do the far away stuff, like these containers I'm shooting at here. But in actual fact, these distant sights, and yes, I'm calling a ×4 sight a distant sight, really restrict your peripheral vision. If I zoom in with that, I can't see to the left, I can't see to the right, I can only see what I'm shooting at, and that makes me very vulnerable. It also means if I'm trying to take on any close range opponents, if they run left and right, it is very difficult for me to keep up with them with these sights, and they can easily run outside of it, and it makes them very difficult for me to see. However, if I use one of these sights, an RDS sight or the Cobra sights, you get very little magnification, but if you're using an accurate gun, you can still take out the distant targets like I would be doing here, and I have the peripheral vision. I can see down the path to the left and the roads on the right, and if I have any close range targets, I can pick them out far easier with these. If you are finding that you struggle with the long range sights and you die more than you think that you should be, try changing to an RDS or a Cobra, and you will find you can still take out the long range stuff and it will protect you far more at close range. Personally, I now use the hollow sights, which gives me about a ×1, but I did start with the RDS and I suggest you do the same. Try it out and see how it works for you. Tip number 7. Don't look down the sights too early. Now, when you're in a firefight, it is very tempting and very easy to jam that right trigger down, right mouse button down as quickly as possible, get looking down the sights because you're desperate to make that kill. But if you do it too soon, you're actually causing yourself more problems than the benefits that you're getting. Now, I'm just going to look down the nose hair canals here, and I'm going to move my mouse to the left and to the right, about ½ an inch in each direction, and this is the amount of the canal that I can see. Now, then I'm going to look down the sight, and I'm going to do exactly the same movement again, and you can see that when you look down the sight, you move far less. It's the same movement of the mouse, but the amount that I can see is a lot less. Therefore, once I look down the sight, it's going to be much slower for me to be able to move across from the left to the right or from the up and to the down. So by the time you actually put the sight up, you need to be able to have the target more or less in your sights. Because if I put the target down, if I was aiming for something on the right here, and I want to move across and then zoom in, so zip across and then zoom in, not look down the sight and then move all the way across, because you'll lose a valuable second or half second moving across, by which time you might be dead or the target has moved on. So the trick is to be comfortable moving around with the sights down, and when you're ready to take the shot or you're almost in the right place, jam the sights down and then take the shot. Now the only exceptions might be if you are maybe camping a little bit or guarding a certain area and you've only got kind of two close little targets that you're looking at, then you can actually maybe just keep the sights down all the time and just move between those two areas, because it does give you a little bit more zoom. But if you're moving around, and certainly if you hear gunfire coming from the side or from behind you, you want to be putting those sights down at the last possible moment to get you in the right position as quickly as possible. I'm just going to show you a real example from gameplay here. I actually end up getting shot at the end of this, but some guys just run beneath me and I'm whipping around, get the sights in the right place, the sights come down right at the last possible moment before I take that shot. Same here, I've got I'm not putting the sights down and then turning, I'm turning and then I'm putting the sights down. So keep those sights down as long as you can. Beginner's tip number 8. Don't instant reload. Now, how many times have you been in a scenario like this? You're doing very well in your particular mission. You're waiting for some enemies to come around the corner. You've spotted them on the minimap. You've got a lovely C4 friend that's blowing crap up, and then this happens. A guy runs out, you kill him, you reload your gun, and the second guy you didn't know was there kills you while you're in the middle of the reload. The ridiculous thing about that was I had easily enough bullets to take down both of those guys. Let me prove it. In video 1, part 1 of this video, I talked about burst firing, and I recommended that you fire in groups of about 5 bullets. We also know from the damage discussion in that video that killing someone takes approximately 5 bullets depending on where you're shooting them. Aiming for the head, even less. That means if I'm bursting in groups of 5, then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bursts, and actually I only need 1 or 1.5 to take down an enemy. Now, adjusting for accuracy, let's call it 2. That means I easily have time, or I have the shots left to kill one guy, kill a second guy, and then reload. At the very least, I don't need to reload straight away. I can duck behind something, I can get myself safe before pressing that reload button. Even at distance, 1, 2, 3, 4, still got 15 bullets left and could fire at a third if I needed. There is absolutely no reason for that instant reload to take place. I know it's an instant reaction and we want to get our gun back for bullets, but if you save that reload, it really will save your life on multiple occasions. I would like to thank my buddies from Team Europe for helping me out in this video and lots of other videos as well. It's a great clan. The link is in the information below. If you're looking for a Battlefield clan, then come join us. Number 9. Don't shoot while moving. I don't want to talk too much about movement in this series of videos. I'm just talking about the accuracy. I really would like to make a series on movement and finding cover and all that kind of things. And if you are interested, do drop me a line and hopefully I'll put those together. But I do want to touch on movement here because movement does affect your accuracy. Just going to go back to the original examples in part 1 of using burst fire and adjusting for recoil as I do so. And I'm going to stay completely still while I do so. And I've got hopefully what I've delivered here is 4 very nice tight sets of bullet holes, which hopefully would have taken down an opponent. Just going to do the same thing again, but this time I'm going to add a strafe as I do so, and what you will see is that although I'm still adjusting for recoil and I'm still firing in bursts and the bullet holes are closer together, they aren't nearly as near as the stationary ones were. Therefore, where possible, don't move while shooting. Now obviously if he's shooting at you and you're shooting at him, you're going to have to move, you're going to have to twitch. But a lot of the time, if you've positioned yourself well, he isn't looking your way, in which case freeze, take the shot, knock him down, and then move. Beginner's tip number 10, the final beginner's tip I've got for you, and it's all about using the shoot from the hip at close range. Let's go back to our old friend shooting at the wall with the whole magazine. First of all, we'll do it down the sight, and then secondly, we'll shoot from the hip. That means we don't press the right mouse button and we let it go. Now if we compare these two patterns, they both go up and to the right on this particular gun, the M16A3. The pattern from the hip is far wider and more spread out than the pattern on the left. However, the bullets are more or less going the same way, and the bullets are, especially those first 10 or 15, are approximately at head height. So with a bit of compensation for recoil, perhaps even a little bit of burst fire, we've still got a fairly accurate shot, if not a very accurate shot. Now the other reason we really should consider using burst fire is because of the time it takes the gun sight to actually come up. This particular one is a hollow, and it takes approximately 0.25 of a second or something like that to come up. But that 0.25 of a second can make a difference between living and dying. And if I use a 4x scope or something higher than that, it's even longer, perhaps even 0.4 of a second or something like that, by which time I could be dead, or certainly could have lost my target. Like we said earlier, that these greater zooms restrict your peripheral vision. And if the enemy is close to you, it actually makes a lot more sense to not bother with that right mouse button, to not bother looking down the sight, and just to shoot from the hip. Growing up as I did, playing such games like Doom 2 and Quake, we never had to worry about looking down the sights, and it's taken me quite a while to learn to look down the sights. But what I've discovered over the last month or so is that I need to unlearn that and actually choose whether it's a long distance shot and I'm going to look down the sights, or whether it's a short range shot and I'm going to use either a full magazine or a burst fire from the hip, because it's never going to be as accurate looking down the sights, but it might well be more useful, and it might well be the quicker way to take down the target. Let me just show you a kind of a real life idea here. Van Squist, he's too far away for a shot from the hip, but actually if I just kind of burst fire, I can take him down after 4, and if I use a bit of recoil compensation, shorter bursts, duck down a little bit, I can actually take him down after 2, especially if I'm training those in on the head. So I wouldn't recommend at that distance you shoot down the hip, but anything closer than that really would. Let me just show you another example of where shooting from the hip is actually better than looking down the sights. That kill there. If I had looked down the sights in the time it took to look down the sights, I probably would have lost the target. Secondly, he's moving very fast left to right. There is no way, if I had looked down the sights, I would have been able to keep the crosshairs on him. Shooting from the hip meant that I got that target. So that was tips 6 to 10 for Addy's shooting tutorial on Battlefield 3, but we still have more to go. I hope you found those 10 useful, but I've got 5 more advanced tips that I would like to share with you in part 3. Not to mention that Addy has lots of other series you might want to check out. You can see the links in front of you. Do subscribe if you have enjoyed what you've seen, and give me some feedback if you would like to see more. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks again to Team Europe for helping me with these videos, and to all the other YouTubers who I have learnt from in the past. Take care and see you soon.